All right, I'm back here. I'm back here. Yes, 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 on a Saturday. Feels so good to be in here on a Saturday after all those years. Oh boy. No, I'm not coming back on the show on Saturday. I can't promise you that. No. This, of course, is an exception because elections are up 5 days from today. And basically, we're trying to not only as radio announcers, but also as political parties are trying their best. And of course, to get folks to understand the importance of voting come Thursday. That's Thursday, January 11th, and why you should go vote. There are a lot of undecided voters out there right now. People are still hesitant. People are still like, I don't want to vote. I don't want to vote. But I said it on Friday during my program at the sign off. I said, if you all look in the history of voting, not only in the Caribbean, but in the United States, especially down in the South, where African Americans were never offered that opportunity until about how many, like 100 years ago, that opportunity to vote. And here we are, here we are with opportunity of it's basically like a privilege, something that is offered to you. That's like someone giving you a gift that is worth $1 million, and you're saying, "Oh, I don't want it." No, people. This time, elections come around every 4 years. Well, now we see we had a government for 4 years, but again, don't waste your vote. Honestly, if you got a voting card, use it. Come January 11th. If you haven't received one yet, we're going to talk a little bit about that with my guests here in the studios this morning. And let me say good afternoon and welcome to PFP Squad here with me this morning. I've got MP de Weever, Ludmila de Weever. She's the number 3 candidate on the list. And also joining her for the very first time, actually, in my afternoon breakfast lunch. He's never been in the morning breakfast lunch. So let me just shout him out here. He's the number 4 candidate on the PFP slate, Mr. Patrice Gumbs Jr. You're the junior, right? Yeah. I gotta make sure to say that right because I don't want Sharon to call me.
Oh, yeah.
Lady Grace.
They're already saying, "Oh, Sharon, your husband running." Like, no, my son. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, guys, how you all doing today? I know it's Saturday. Am I taking you out of your comfort zone by doing this on a Saturday?
No, I think actually for us, this is crunch time. And like you said, January 11th is how many days away now?
5.
Yeah, 5 days away from election. Right. So I think, for us, we appreciate every effort to get our voices heard and, like you said, get people out to vote.
Right.
I think a lot of people have expressed they're not going to vote. Like a lot of people saying, yeah, Patrice, we like what y'all are doing, but I'm like, exactly. If you like what we're doing, you don't like what's going on. We're in opposition. Get out and vote. Tell a friend, bring a friend, pick him up on a scooter, bring him in a backhoe, anything. Just get to the polling station.
A wheelbarrow.
Yeah, a wheelbarrow. Whatever you have. I think people have to realize that, by not going out to vote, you actually don't bring about change. You actually just have the same thing over and over again. So if you see a party that you believe that can make that change that you want to have happen, go out, and if that happens to PFP, the gold standard, pick any of us and give us the opportunity to actually govern. Because this time we are gunning for government.
There you go. I like that. I like that you said it because I was going to ask you about that. Before we continue though, I want radio listeners to actually understand, not understand, but introduce yourself because this is actually the first time that you're here on my show.
In this selection, so
we know Ludi.
Yeah. Ludi been here like 4 times. Yeah. No. So I think so Patrice Gumbs, actually professionally, I'm a civil servant. I'm currently director of foreign affairs for the government of St. Martin. So in that means that every time St. Martin does anything with another country, an international organization, it should go through our office to be coordinated. Every time the prime minister, the minister goes abroad, we prepare all the speaking points, a lot of the speeches, help create a strategy for how the country is going to basically engage. We advise on who to engage with, the legal side of engaging, what it means, all of course to make sure that St. Martin's interests are protected when they go abroad, and that we find the right people to push what we want as a country.
When we talk foreign affairs, we're talking foreign relations, right?
Yes, yeah.
How has that been where it concerns relations with the foreign countries, actually, that we've been in talks with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the country. I mean, for us, our biggest foreign partner, despite it being...
partners.
Yeah, I think our biggest foreign partner country that we work with, culturally the same, but it is the French side. That dominates our agenda daily. everything you can imagine, from the border negotiations that happened to discussions around education cooperation, health cooperation, anything with, the fact that buses have to cross the border. Wow. How does that work? Okay. So we support that a lot. Anytime there is a minister crossing the border or an action to file pursuit, we're currently actually negotiating a treaty or let's say a protocol to make sure that persons can cross the border with guns, and it is hot pursuit, you're crossing, chasing a criminal. All of that sort of is coordinated with the relevant ministry via my office. So the French is a big one. And of course, you have the US, because that for us is the economic fuel to our economy with tourism. And then, of course, we have other countries. So you have a lot of times we work really close with Dominican Republic. I was in Dominican Republic for a sort of a regional ambassadors conference. So all the Dutch ambassadors within the region, from Canada down to Argentina, were in Dominican Republic, discussing basically strategy for this area of the world. And we had a sort of sidebar meeting with the Minister of International Cooperation and Caribbean Affairs, sort of seeing how we can strengthen the relationship there. There's a lot of interest in the Dominican Republic, and that's all coordinated by our office. Then there's
interest for what?
Yeah. Tourism for business. The Dominican Republic actually has a situation where they are having issue getting fresh water. We have a lot of expertise here in turning salt water into fresh water, reverse osmosis.
Osmosis,
so exactly. Right. So it's looking at how we can pull that expertise and sort of sell it to Dominican Republic. Business, there's a lot of business interest in the Dominican Republic, particularly in Curacao. A little less for St. Martin, but also in terms of getting fresh agricultural products.
I was about to ask
from the Dominican Republic.
Very much
yeah.
so.
So a couple of years back, we actually drafted an MOU to sort of strengthen our relationship with the Dominican Republic in a lot of different aspects. And we're trying to sort of strengthen it again now, because with every time we have a government falling, new minister comes in, oftentimes the minister doesn't really have an idea of sort of a macro, a big picture. So you have to sort of spend a lot of time educating them on that.
Right.
And then
boom, so it's like basically you're starting all over again.
Yep. So we've been, I've been working in this department for 10 years. It was my first job out of university. And it's been 10 years of a lot of things we're trying to finally get done. And I mean, we always say, we finally have 4 years. And I must say, and I say all the time that we have to thank PFP for that, because oftentimes people forget that, those times when those calls were coming in to drop the government, MP Peterson, MP Gumbs, and now we have MP Weever, they said no. They said, no, we're not playing that game. You have no actual real reason to drop it. Stay in it, fix it, and work it out.
There you go.
And I think this is why in the past 4 years, you've seen sort of a lot of things happen at the international level, because of stability and because of the fact that you have finally a time that people can process, okay, this is what it takes. But again, it goes back to the fact of, if it takes 2 years to figure out how the world works and the government falls, why not elect people who actually have the capacity and knowledge of what it takes to actually bring the country outside of, the regular island politics.
I'm glad you said that, because it seems like a lot of people were not aware of that on several occasions, the government was at the verge of falling. Yeah. And we've seen mention, or we've heard mention, that PFP was approached, and PFP doesn't want to join any coalition, but basically giving the impression that PFP doesn't want to be part of a coalition. And that's something that I heard from a former member of the party, one of the founding members.
This election?
No,
It's that thing.
Yeah, I think interesting, because I heard rumors about that as well, actually, and it's unfortunate.
Oh, so you didn't hear it?
Yes, actually, I didn't. And people came and told me, "Oh, I'm hearing." I was like, "Yeah, actually, I heard it too." And I think it was a lot of the discussions between, former candidate on PFP, now on National Alliance, Charlotte Pompier, yesterday, along with Minister Duran, stating, trying to give the illusion that PFP didn't want to suddenly be in government 4 years ago after when we sort of got 2 seats. And I want to clarify, today, Grace, on your show, and I think to many people in St. Martin, sort of the history of how that came about. When we launched the party, we announced the launch of the party. I remember clearly I was in the meeting. We announced the party's launch for Friday on the Sunday before. And then in this meeting sitting down, you get a WhatsApp, boom. government, you hear government fell. Government officially fell the Monday, it was already fallen that night. And we said, okay, well, we actually want to launch this party with the intention of creating a movement, of building support, because what we've seen happen all the time is parties come up just when the government falls, try and get in there, and then they're trying to figure out on the spot who they are, do they actually like each other. We launched the party, and this party was launched 2019 after about, I want to say, maybe 4 or 5 years of actually groundwork and building and getting support and saying, okay, what is the party's name going to be? What is our manifesto? What are our ideas?
Okay.
We went in there saying, okay, guys, listen, we're a very new party. We're all pretty much all first-time candidates,
Right.
except one. And speaking with them, I told them, the things that this current government that would have come in, that was the NA of government, are saying, that's not true. I work in government. So the whole belief of the World Bank won't happen, give St. Martin back to St. Martin people, this is all the rhetoric that was being said to sort of gain support. And I said, we have to be very careful about going in, possibly getting seats, because we didn't think we would have done well. Because as a new young people, you kind of say, let's try out, let's build, and let's go forward.
Right.
We said to ourselves from the jump, we're not going to go into this with the intention of getting into government, getting into a coalition. We're trying to start a movement very slowly.
So that was established
And
from
that was
the
established
onset.
from the onset that we're
Right.
not going to, we're going to push, we're a movement trying to change how politics in St. Martin is. That's why we actually all founded the party to be different. So moving fast forward, election day comes, suddenly PFP is confronted back that they just won 2 seats. And we said to ourselves,
Was that a
okay,
shocker though?
It was a shock. I think, and I'll tell you, Melissa,
After
MP
the
Gumbs
voters,
always
they
says
wanna
it.
change.
Yeah, they want to change. People want to change. They're already
right.
fed up. But I
That's
think,
a clear message there.
yeah,
And I think it came not only as a shock to the party, but it was also came a shock to the population.
yes,
Also, it was
yeah.
like, what
because,
the heck did they
yeah,
do?
Because,
Because
sometimes
you guys weren't out there on the podium and
No.
on the soapbox and grandstanding or anything.
we did our campaign very different, town
Right.
halls. And for us, people were like, oh, how did 8 young people on a brand new party created the week before get 2 seats?
Ain't that
Sometimes
something?
there are 23 seat candidates in a party and get nothing. So here we are, and I think we got these 2 seats and we're like, okay, guys, it hasn't changed. Don't be caught up in the hype of this. Observe what's happened to other smaller parties when they get into bed with parties who campaigned on something different, knowing full well that it wasn't going to happen the way it happened, and now we
Right.
see it today.
Right.
So I think that the issue you have is that we all had agreed already that, okay, we're not going to go into coalition talks. We still met and talked with people. So, because of course, you give full the respect of them coming to you, you give full the respect. But in our mind, we said to ourselves, this is not going to happen.
So,
I think what
right.
really happened, the biggest problem was, and I think to what Mr. Pompier said in the radio station, I think the problem is that we remained level-headed, the most of us. But when some people start getting calls from the big boys and start getting promised all kinds of things, and I could tell you, like, PFP was promised prime minister, promised Bromley just to join, and we said, no, we are not people who are sort of, impressed by power
Right,
and titles
right.
and money.
There we go.
But, unfortunately, I think for him, that seemed to have been a trigger. And he started, the whole discussions around, hey, what, they're giving us this or whatever. Like, yeah, but look at what's going on. We discussed this. So don't be sort of, don't lose yourself.
Don't get caught up in the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
And I think a lot of people who go into this game of politics and this art of politics, they lose themselves very quickly.
Yeah,
and I think,
very true.
in terms of what he said of that, he ended up leaving PFP after members of parliament, MP Gumbs and PFP kept pressuring him to give information to about what's going on in Bromley. I can tell you that's never been my experience.
Is that so there's no truth to that?
No, and I think, and then he said that the pressure became so much that he had to leave. And I want to clarify.
So that was an excuse, basically. You were saying to leave the party.
And I think let me clarify, and not again, and it's sad because when he didn't leave the party. It came to the point where the sort of the behavior we saw after election began to escalate. And then it became a question about a misalignment of values and principles and kind of questions about sort of what's going on and what we're hearing on the sideline, he was actually voted out of the party.
Oh,
And I think
okay.
it's sad because when that letter came to him, that letter was never made public. He turned around and he made a public response to the letter that, and then made it seem as if we were pressuring him, the MPs, to give information. I work in government as well. I work in actually a highly political department called Foreign Affairs that works with all the ministers. And I can tell you, never have I ever been pressured or asked to give information.
What I will, sensitive information,
exactly.
Right.
So I think giving this idea that we as a party and are saying, okay, give information to tell us. I was like, no, that's not the case. And I can tell you, I, as an opposition member, civil servant I have built a reputation of professionalism. And, I think I have a relationship right now with the Prime Minister, with the Minister of Justice, which goes beyond politics. And again, I think it talks more about you being a professional and you being able to actually handle the role you are in and be a politician, that you can actually have members of opposition coming to talk to you and ask you for advice. Sometimes on things that you wouldn't dare to ask somebody who's not in your party.
Okay.
But again, it comes back to the fact of, I dare anyone to say that I gave any information or people in PFP who are civil servants have ever done that. So I think
to jeopardize your job also.
Yes, I think it's a thing about trying to give this illusion and paint this picture to sort of fit the narrative that, Minister Duran is obviously trying to push now with, Charlene Ding and his party, that we're stopping progress and we're negative. And I'm just like, I want to just clarify to you that's not the case. And I think what we need to stop doing is this sort of low-level politics and actually focus on being professional.
That is very easier said than done, because especially in these days leading up to just 5 days to elections, you're going to get a lot of mudslinging out there, which I actually approached. I spoke to the Minister of ESL a few minutes ago when you were here on the program. People want to hear the issues. What are the issues? How can we fix the current situation? How can we better the lives of the community? And I need to hear that from you, because you all have had 2 public meetings, I believe.
We do town hall meetings.
Town hall meetings.
Every neighborhood.
Which we see that a lot of other parties are following suit with that now too.
And I think if you look at what PFP, despite everyone saying that we've done nothing over the past 4 years, I think you see it first in what basically the ministers attempted to do, that MPs attempted to do, sort of calling out for accountability in the Ministry of Romy by issuing a vote of no confidence on the minister. And then unfortunately, instead of actually being sort of accountable as they claim to be and saying, okay, actually, no, this is our minister, but he has to go home, they all kept him in, all for the sake of, their position. And I think, going back to what I said, PFP is a party that, when we do become a minister or a member of parliament, we are in these positions, accountability is important. And we will tell you, if one of our own is found to be doing something questionable, you'll be sent out. We saw it already by voting out our 3rd highest vote getter last time. So for us, it's not about power. It's not about getting in there. It's about progress. It's about raising the country to a new standard. And now what you see now, what we did 4 years ago, everyone now is back on manifestos. They existed before, but they were never such a big part of this campaign. People have come down off of the stages and rallies and sort of screaming out who's doing what and who's sleeping with who, and actually having contact meetings. You see parties actually for the first time in years, and I think a whole generation, leaders are going into neighborhoods and actually themselves talking to people. And that's all something that people have realized that made PFP different the last time. They're now on the radio in twos. We started that the last time. No one did that before. And it's this idea,
doing it.
They're like, well, if it worked for them, why can't it work for us?
If you're like, well, if there are 8 people that can get 2 seats, if I'm 23, I should have 15. But guess what? The reality is people can see that it's not genuine, that you're not necessarily focused on trying to improve. You're focused on trying to copy an idea that's not authentic.
So, and the leader actually, Miss Melissa Gumbs, actually, MP Gumbs, actually made it clear we're not the party is not about quantity, but more about quality, because you go through a rigorous training actually to be basically to become a member of the progressive party here.
And you
The
go
party
through.
for progress.
Yeah.
Someone told me FBI. No, they called it. What do we were on an interview this week? They said CIA screening.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think for us, and I think as I was actually initially recruited as one of the
But why
first
is it
recruits
important? But why is
of
it
PFP.
important to do this though?
I think because what you see is in the end of the day, and I'll give you a prime example.
It didn't work the
Um,
first time.
I mean, it didn't work the first time
Right.
in some instances, but again, I think the founding people of PFP came together because the impression was that we're all very similar.
Mm-hmm.
The screening sort of started happening. We started bringing on new people, and I was actually one of the first recruits of the original four who founded, well, three, who kind of founded the idea of what is now PFP. And when I came on, there wasn't this sort of recruitment as yet. It was still pretty much 2015, 16, so it's pretty trying to find ourselves at the time. But again,
Whose idea was it?
A combination of actually the lead was Melissa Gumbs.
Okay.
MP Melissa Gumbs.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, MP Melissa Gumbs was living in the Netherlands at the time. She pulled together some people who she kind of sat around with and had these talks about where they want the country to go, seeing that they themselves couldn't find one party that's kind of aligned with what they wanted. The idea of doing your own thing came about.
Okay.
And I think for us, it's important to screen because I think you see it all the time. People join on to a party, either they're, I have 50 first cousins, or you could bring in $2 million, or, you're popular, come on the party, and you realize all of a sudden, actually, we don't even like each other. We don't actually align.
Mm-hmm.
What I found interesting is that, sometimes you even have some parties telling you on the radio that they don't trust their leader, but they're here because it seems like the best option. So it's really a question about, are you actually here because you have a plan, or are you here to kind of just get in because it just seems like a safer ride?
Right.
And
let me get on the most popular party so that I can get in.
Yeah. And I think for us,
It's the
it's
old
not
way
about
of thinking.
popularity.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day,
Exactly.
it is a numbers game. But you know
It
what,
is.
Grace?
Right.
I rather have few numbers and sleep at night and have a reputation than have all the numbers in the world and lose all credibility.
Right.
I think people forget that, politics and this and sort of elections is a very small part of most of your life. You have to come down off of that pedestal and you have to live among people again.
Correct.
And you have to
That's
realize
beautiful.
that, and actually you should always live among the people. Let me just
That's
clarify that. But I think, the metaphor could live among the people. I can't live among you after I screwed you over for years.
Can't wake up the following day and say, wow.
Exactly.
Right.
I like that, Patrice. I like
Okay.
that.
No, you get closer to the mic
Well-
because I've been hearing from you.
No,
The moment I started talking about the
I mean, let me
Patrice
just,
here.
I know, but the thing is, it's Patrice's first time. Sorry, good afternoon, St. Martin. Good afternoon,
Right,
Grace. Thank
right.
you. The last time I was
Just
here was
chime
in
in.
December. Happy New
Chime
Year.
in a
No,
bit here.
because I love hearing him talk, and plus and people are hearing him and getting a chance to hear him on this show. So I'm there, smiling on, cheering him on, and then I move away a little bit out of the video. So I'm like, I don't really want them to see me react.
Yeah, there we go. But no.
But we've seen Patrice in all the videos and all the photos when the prime minister was
When they're
actually-
traveling
when
and stuff
they're
like that. Yeah, but
traveling.
Yeah.
I enjoyed listening to him as well, and I kept laughing or smirking at certain things that he said. The last thing he said about get off your pedestal and live amongst the people really hit home for me, because one of the things that I've been hearing on the campaign trail from people, you guys talked about it earlier on, you both talked about it earlier on about people, not feeling like they want to vote. And you just hit the nail on the head, because what they have been saying is this. When this one was in power, they used to come around all the time. I always saw them, you basically had people feel like you were part of their family. You take the time to go to their house, to go inside, say good afternoon, drop off, like yesterday, I have a friend who's sick, drop off a bag of oranges. I see that friend maybe once every 3-4 months. You show people you care by small little actions. It doesn't need to be anything material other than you coming by and say, hey, Patrice, how are you doing today? Yeah. I have heard that so much on the campaign trail. And it's been so easy for me to tell them, well, Patrice and Grace, ask Patrice and Grace about how I am with them. I know them. Correct. I didn't know you. Now that I know you, you will be seeing from me. And let me tell you, it goes a long way, because people want to see someone who's genuine, someone who's real. Right. And from day one when I got involved, I've been talking about community. If you have no connection with your community, you won't know what they need. You won't know how to lead them. And people are missing that, because he just said, When you finish doing your job, your role as a representative in government, you better remember you have to get off your pedestal and live among everybody else that you were trying to represent while you were there in office. And that's what some arrogant people with their ego don't remember. You're going in there to be a facilitator, to try to improve the lives of your people through having people that know what they're doing. You're having a group of educated people. You're having a party member, like 10 candidates that we have, all different backgrounds that have a plan. And their plan isn't for today. Their plan is long term so that your grandchildren, your great grandchildren can actually benefit from it.
Right.
And if people aren't asking those hard questions when they're coming into your house or picking up your phone calling you, then you need to make sure put it right back over by the gold standard, because we are doing that.
Yeah.
And you know what? Someone pointed out to me, so you guys are a pretty young party, aren't you? And I said, well, yes, I'm the oldest one on the party. But, I take pride in it that I'm 43 years old. But the thing is, it's a young party, but these are all professionals.
Yeah.
These are professionals who are involved. They are involved in one way or another in the community. Yeah. And you know what? And for me, my story of going around to people is I'm proud of where I am. I'm happy. Why I didn't do this last election now. It's a whole different vibe. And it's because I can actually relate and I feel connected. Correct. And then every time I go somewhere with a group, I have somebody who sees us and say, man, oh, you really look like you like each other, you know. Right. I said, so what else do you have? And I'm like, can I get to the manifesto, please? Can I get to our fight for the future and get down to the nitty gritty? But they are looking on the surface. What do you look like to me? But I look like I can get along. You're going to try and squeeze each other over when you go in parliament if you don't do what the other person want when they minister. Because I've lived through that. I mean, I saw that, you know. And I was, when he was talking, going in a little, a little segue into that, when he was talking about Melissa, I made a note on it about, well, let me say the official title for the roles, MP Melissa Gumbs and MP Rayon Peterson. So they said, oh, but they didn't do anything when they were there. The only word that came into my head was you're welcome, because they did not get involved in the pettiness that I have known as an adult, as a voter of this island,
as being a member of parliament.
Yes, right. Let me get involved in this pettiness. When that person ain't doing what I want, I'm going to threaten them with fire, being fired. And I want to turn it into the sense of this is why I find it very easy, and I feel very comfortable, and I want to align myself with mature people. And then when he mentioned it was an escalation that you see, which is a fair treatment of a person who happens to be a minister. When you start a process, you started out saying, I'm going to give you wire skewing. I'm going to give you a little warning letter saying disapproval. And when you continue playing around, continue literally towing the line of borderline illegal and disenfranchising people at the same time, then that's a time again for now motion of confidence. Motion of no confidence.
No confidence. Right.
You do a mature way. If I see that I am seeing maturity and fairness in a leader, then that's where I'm going to put my vote behind. I'm going to put my support that, because I know that I will be treated fairly as a voter, as a St. Martin, as a citizen here. That's what I'm looking for. What we have not been getting for 4 years is fair treatment. Okay, you can talk about all of the challenges, the disasters that we have had. That is part of our life. You have to know what plans do you have in place when disasters happen.
Well, someone might listening might say, well, you got it. You got an opportunity to be part of this coalition and you turned it down.
I absolutely
So what are you complaining about?
So I'm not, know what? I'm not complaining about anything, because I did my job and I did my job well. This country's open because of all the lobbying I did to open this country. You know what? I have a relationship with every airline, every executive and crews, and I fought against all odds, including my colleagues, to open this country. Because when you are dependent on tourism, which is the one sector that we have semi-mastered, and I said semi-mastered because it's the main one that is bringing money. When we have this one sector, how do you expect that we're going to continue? How do you expect we're going to continue surviving when we keep it closed out of fear? And when you have people in there who know what they're doing, who are brave and courageous, and who have experience and professional, they know how to use risk management to the best interest of their country. My risk management experience in my finance world said, let me do some insurance here, because they already in BSS said they needed insurance because they couldn't afford to take the foreigners that were on their country. And they said, let's bring that in. And I was like, well, you guys aren't doing it in time. I'm going to think about that. I'm going to think about do this at the same time, because I was already working on it privately when I found out that Aruba, at the same time with the Americans that I was talking to, were going to do a similar thing. And I was like, I don't want them to beat me at it, because I was like, whoa, someone else is thinking about this. And so the thing is that I am a workaholic. When I set my mind to something, I will get it done. People saw me when in 24 hours with a local company here, I created that form before VSL was ready with that form a month later. And I said, we're going to get security on this form, everything we need to make sure our country can open. Because we opened July 1st, 2020. I went into office March 20-something, 2020. All I was thinking is, how am I going to get these people back working? How am I going to get these people back working?
And I think one of the, just to cut, not cut you off, I think, and just to sort of point as to what and Peter was talking about, I think too, in political maturity, working in government, I saw what he was doing as Minister of Tea. She had proposed actually a whole new revised tax plan for the country. And actually, we had a very good relationship from civil servants to minister for quite some time. And I actually, she presented it, she spoke about it. And I said to MP Gumbs and MP Peterson, I said, guys, she's going to present this plan. She's spoken to you about it. We really have to support it. And at that time, there was no talk about her leaving a coalition or even thinking about PFP. And I think it's about the fact that we ourselves already had an idea of a tax plan that we wanted to have put in place. And we saw a lot of similarities between us and her plan. And we said, you know what, different party, we're not even in a coalition together. Let's support this. And I think that's what, again, it's about what she's done when she was there. And it's, again, the political maturity of PFP. And that's why that marriage became perfect. Because it's very like-minded people having similar ideas and seeing the bigger picture.
And that's what the country needs to look at in their leaders, okay? They need to look at people that are working for them. When I work for them. I would just come bulldoze a room and tell you, lobby, here's the proof, we need to do this. I kept working for this country. And everyone was lovely. Everybody was fast to come and take the praise of everything.
Taxi drivers.
Everybody was come to I said, listen, I'm just working. I'm just opening the country. The same thing happened when cruise happened. The cruise gave us free nurses and doctors to help vaccinate people. So I said, this is supposed to be a relationship, a give and take relationship with people. You have to, they're providing us tourists, spending on our shores. We have to help them out. They're also giving us free staff. We have a shortage of staff. So are you going to turn away every help that you can get that is coming actually from this cooperation agreement?
Right.
This is what you need to look at. I wasn't working for somebody who trying to control what I do in a party. People need to understand that. So when you're asking me the question about, oh, but you were there, and let me tell you something. I gotta say it again, St. Martin. I ain't going to jail for nobody else. I'm just working for St. Martin. I am not going to jail for nobody. All I do is to be a facilitator, to be a public servant, to work in the best interest of you. And I have found an amazing place where people are exactly the same. And that's all the candidates on PFP. And I get in goosebumps talking about it because this is a whole different campaign for me.
You feel at home?
I feel at home, but I feel in a place where these candidates, this team, we know what we're doing.
What is it that you want to accomplish, though, that you're now part of the PFP party?
Well, the thing is, I want to say a little story just so that the people of St. Martin can understand what goes on in the background. You understand the wheeling, the dealing, the scheming so that they can keep illegal money in their pockets. We're working for you, okay? We have a salary, we work for you. Yes, we have stakeholders that we have to cater to as well, which is you, which is businesses, everybody, everything you can think of. But you need to really understand the reality behind the scenes, that when someone doesn't get their way, they can use all kind of excuses, rumors and nastiness to come your way, and they will try to go and lobby for the wrong reasons. I lobby for the right reasons of opening this country. I lobby for the right reasons of getting cruise started back and saying that I didn't invent home porting. The home porting came because I keep working for you. But when you have scheming and wheeling and dealing happening in the background, this is why you can have a minister, MP like Rayon, like MP Peterson, saying, Ludi, I want to know. He's like ma, because he just called you ma, right? He said, ma.
A real person.
He said, you know what? He's like, You know what happening? And I said, what do you mean? I said, I don't need to hear nothing. I said, stop right there. That's how I stopped the conversation. I don't need to hear nothing. They gonna want to fire me because all I'm doing is working for the Martin people. Literally, I said, that's what they probably want to do in Parliament. Fire me because I'm not doing their bidding and wheeling and dealing. I'm a team member, but the team I'm working for is St. Martin.
Okay.
The team PFP is working for is St. Martin.
Yep.
So I had a meeting with MP Peterson and I said, I tell everybody this. If you want to fire me for doing my job the right way with integrity, where I work for St. Martin people, where I don't give special treatment to people with taxi licenses, everybody is treated equally. I fairly approach every business license coming to my place, and they can all bring it up to me, and I will challenge them every single time. Every person in St. Martin matters, and that is how PFP is. It is in their manifesto about people and partnership.
Yep.
We're all about improving the quality of life for people. So that's the stuff that happens in the background, and that is the maturity that you rarely ever get that I was seeking, and I got that maturity where I am. St. Martin needs to really think, no, we know we're in politics a long time here. You know how things are.
Right.
We have voters of all ages. The young ones need to learn. Politics gets crazy sometimes.
Well, it is.
But you need to have people who can actually resist.
Level-headed.
Resist the temptation that power brings to wear nice suits and sparkly jewels. Resist that temptation and make sure choose people who are going to continuously work for you. And that's what all we are asking St. Martin is to come out to vote big for change, vote them out and vote for the gold standard. That's what we are asking for.
The issuing of taxi and bus licenses is something, it's nothing new when it comes to election time.
No.
We've seen that from way back, and it's a trend that continues to actually rear its ugly head for every election. This is something that just recently happened also.
Yep.
Can I say something about that really quickly?
Sure.
So about the taxi licenses, right? I was also advised, don't talk to the taxi driver, don't talk to the bus driver, And I'm like, these
as minister,
minister, this is the advice coming to me from the team I was with.
Okay.
These are stakeholders, man. These are stakeholders.
Why don't
the
they
minute
want
you
to
don't
talk
the
to
minute
them?
you don't want to talk to them is because you don't respect them. You don't value them. And for me, everybody is equal in my eyes. I don't do no special treatment for nobody, which is why I was warned they're gonna fire you.
So don't talk to them until election time.
You know
comes
why?
around.
Because when you don't talk to people and you act like you're better than them, they ain't gonna want to do nothing with you.
Right.
The taxi drivers is a big force. It's a big force. They always call themselves the ambassadors of these islands.
Correct.
When you listen, and I listen to those taxi drivers, they said, Minister, we don't need no more taxis. We already thing. But the thing is there's a history of taxis that I don't think we have enough time to go into. It was always when it was brought up, the way it was done was for retirees. You know, that was an extra source of income for them. And this is why it has actually also been where family members would help each other out, because if that person became older, they were disabled somehow, they could have a help driver. They could have a help driver. This is the history of it. But people have used taxi licenses, bus licenses as a voting means. As a voting means.
Right.
It's also to extort people.
Yeah, but that's the problem again. That's what I think PFP's thing is. It's about taking the tough decisions to make a plan. If you read our manifesto, we've literally put out verbatim what we're planning to do.
Okay.
People come on a political party, they don't have a plan. And that's the thing again, how do you join a political party and you don't actually have people who agree to the same things? We actually write our own manifesto. So in our manifesto, we actually talk about all these different things. We actually talk about things we're not going to allow have happen. So again, when you have people who are sitting down and basically having to do things because they have a puppet string on them, that's not PFP. And I think something that we always look at, for example, is that if you want to actually get involved in politics to run this country, do it through a plan. I invite everybody to come and actually read our manifesto. You know, some of the biggest things we talk about as a party, we actually did a manifesto breakdown, because not everybody likes to read. It's 30 pages, 2 to 3 minutes each, breaking down every single thing. But what the party stands for, big time, all of us, is the power of education. And I think what you see coming up this election is a lot of people are scared. And a lot of people, like MP de Weever has said, a lot of people are scared to talk and so don't talk to this person. And it's all this game of basically voter suppression and the idea of being threatened and the idea, let's not get into that, but the whole idea of being threatened. I think for us, it's a question about put your plan on paper and have people actually decide what they want to do. We value education very much, because for us, education, if you know what the system is and what you're voting for, a lot of who we see in there today won't actually be there. So for us, it's about looking at education from a bigger point of view. It's not only just going in a classroom, but also what does it actually mean to vote for an MP or vote for a minister? I went and I met some young persons the other day, and they said, "Oh, we already have one of our candidates already." And I said, "Okay, that's interesting. Why that person?" They said, "Yeah, yeah, because X, Y, Z." I asked them, "What are your biggest concerns in St. Martin?" Interestingly enough, all their concerns come from the ministry that the person they had chosen and believe so much has been done for, they're in charge of that ministry. So people don't see that they're electing a leader, they're electing the most popular person.
Correct.
Who actually
That's a very
happens to
good
be doing a
point.
lot of bad things
Mhm.
at a time. So again, it's
It's
the
a,
question of
it's a
connecting the
popularity
Yes.
contest because again, this is where the issues are so important.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't seem to be listening
No.
or reading for
Yeah.
that matter.
Yeah.
So what
Made our
what
video.
actually really matters when it comes to an election? People just go along with the crowd, like
Yeah.
oh yeah, everybody's going here.
Or,
And
or
that-
family
that's the
tradition
problem.
of
Right.
how they vote.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think for us, one of the biggest issues that have come up this election round, and you see it, is that we have a another sort of post-Christmas election. People are saying, I don't have time to go listen to you all. I can't even afford a Christmas tree. I can't even pay GB. I can't buy a gift for my child. Christmas is all about children.
Right.
Adults, all we
really
want
tough
is some
thing.
food and some drinks and we're good. But again, how are we actually addressing the cost of living? So one of the big things PFP is actually looking at is establishing a poverty line. Because yes, you can increase the minimum wage however many times you want to increase it, but is it actually enough for people to live in the country? So for us, we always say, kudos to those who have done what they've done. But at the same time, $1,000 rent is now $800. So so the idea is the poverty line is I need to figure out what it actually takes to live on St. Martin. That's what we're pushing as a party.
Right.
Secondly, as well, because then you're gonna say, okay, we're not gonna get $3,000 when PFP comes into
What does
government,
it take?
but it's
As
gonna
it is
take
right
exactly.
now. How much? How much does it take?
No one
to
knows,
actually
and,
live?
and it's kind of
Right.
this kind of number
It's up
that
in
you
the
work
air.
with stakeholders.
Right.
But is it enough? We don't know necessarily. The second thing we're actually looking at, because again, it's a thing about the biggest issues we have seen on the road thus far are cost of living. We have a high profit tax rate, and St. Martin doesn't have big businesses. It's really mom and pop shops, small one man, businesses who are doing business. Exactly.
600 Chinese groceries.
Well, that's a different thing, but I mean, they're
No, but
very small.
while we're
Yeah.
at it, I mean, at least call it out for what it is.
I think again,
Don't shy away
yeah,
from
but I
it.
think one of the things you see all the time is that oftentimes people have a license for one establishment and then several pop up using the
Branches.
same.
Right,
They
right.
can do
They branch out.
branch out.
branch licenses.
Tentacles.
Yeah, but it's again the issue of sort of compliance management, and I think
But
you
it's
can give
also
a bit
like
more
you
of
know,
that
well
quickly.
for that, in terms of the business model behind why you're seeing that, it's also a sort of cultural way of being supportive to each other.
Okay.
So that's one way of it. But yes, you do open. I mean, branch licenses exist, and that's more than fine.
But when do you
Potentially
say
expedited.
it's too many? When do you say, okay, let's put a stop to it now?
But I think again it goes into
There is no
longer.
limit.
Yeah, but I think again, Grace, it really goes into the idea of what is the government's actual plan? Just like licenses, we open up licenses just before a tax license right before elections. Here's 50 licenses. By the way, you gotta vote for me and put the stickers on the licenses, on the taxis, and all of a sudden it's closed again. What was the policy initiative behind reopening it? What is your long-term goal? Is there a need? Where's your data saying actually, we needed 20 more buses and taxis in this area? There's nothing. It's very much this is a tool I have as a minister to get popular. Don't question me. And I think
that's what happens all the time. Actually, and this is what I was talking about. So Martin needs to look like when people go out to vote, they have to look for something greater because the only person that benefits at that moment, it's a short-term gain of giving you a taxi license or whatever license you were looking for when it wasn't necessarily needed.
Right.
Because then the whole market is just basically, it's
Swamped.
overrun. Yeah, it's
So
overrun
at the
by
end
it.
of the day, you're actually giving more people licenses and taxis to make a living.
But they're
actually,
not living.
But actually, no, because there's too many for the market.
Exactly.
So you know, you don't care because, hey, I get my votes, but you all figure out you used to get 20 rides a day, you're now getting 15.
If that many, because
So-
I know sometimes I'm on the road and I got like
No.
6 buses in front of
So,
me.
and then if
And
you
I'm
see,
like, how do they survive?
Yeah.
you see how they act, you see how aggressive they are,
Uh-huh.
because they're all rushing to
Yeah,
get
and-
more
and they
instead of
don't-
the other.
Right, and they don't get off the road, they
Yeah.
block the
It's
traffic.
because
And
we
I-
have created that as a minister. Like, if you're a minister that thinks that you're going to open up licenses and say, I'm going to get 10, 20, 50, 100 extra votes by doing the people who've been waiting forever. That was the old time way of doing
Yeah,
things in St.
that's what I
Martin.
said, right.
And that doesn't serve us anymore.
Yeah.
And then answering the question about the licenses, with like whether you're talking about a supermarket or a bus, or I want to bring it up, it's the elephant in the room that no one likes to do it because no one likes to talk about it. We're talking about lottery booths.
Right.
The
Control of that.
exactly
also.
what Patrice is saying. I'm going to add on to it. When you're looking at the social impact of
Yeah.
something, you're going to start with what has the biggest social impact. Lottery has a very big social impact because it makes you broke and you can't even survive after that.
Casinos.
It's the same. It's in the same
Right,
territory,
right.
which is why people go to Las Vegas. There's nothing wrong with Las Vegas, right? But it's regulated. And
Yeah.
it's regulated in a way where the community gets back. This is a dialogue that I've had when I was there in Ministers, and it's something that I'm openly going to say because if you're going to exist, what is your corporate social responsibility?
Yeah.
What is your return back to the island if you're going to exist? If you're going to exist as a bus where you say that there's sometimes get aggressive on the side of the road to get more passengers and make more money, that's a social impact because it causes traffic.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this is literally part of the plan.
Yeah.
We think longevity.
Yeah.
We think of the whole. We don't think I'm going to give you 5 licenses, you can vote for me next election. We
Yeah.
literally think of the social impact.
Right.
That's what we're saying in our manifesto. It's about improving the quality of life for our St. Martin people.
And I
And
think-
this is what you're looking for.
Yeah. And I think too, one of the things, and I've heard a lot, private progress is against progress. I'm like, no, we're not. We have no problem
we're a
with the
threat, my
country.
love.
Yeah, but we have no problem with business. We have no problem with development or construction. But it has to be done the correct way because it's about regulation. Because prime example, I know someone actually currently who had a license and they couldn't use it, so they had a help driver.
Okay.
One
Right.
of the health drivers just got in this new opening a taxi license. So
Was
now,
he forced to put stickers on his bus?
well, I don't know what he was, but I mean, at the end of the
Let
day,
him
what
tell the story.
what we're currently doing is saturating a market
Mhm.
for the sake of elections and getting votes.
That's
But
terrible.
there's a question of if there's 100 passengers and 5 buses, everybody gets a little piece. If there's 100 passengers and 150 buses, guess
Buses.
what? You're only doing it short term. I think for PFP, for us, it's about a quality of life for all. It's long-term planning.
Right.
Our manifesto is broken down that way. And I think going back very quickly on the financing is very important actually for MP de Weever and myself, that we have a lot of small shops in St. Martin. And again, we pay one of the highest profit tax rates. We want to slash to 17% because again, using that money that you can save in your profit, people are more willing to pay and contribute. Like she said, your sort of corporate social responsibility. But if I'm sort of heavily taxed and I don't have any money to actually reinvest in my company, to actually maybe pay my workers a bit more, I'm not going to pay it. So for us, we're looking at actually cutting that profit tax down tremendously.
That's where we
And
bonded
yeah,
on our
on
manifesto.
on the
Right.
taxes, but also too in terms of, okay, that's for the business side. But the people side, you have to actually look at addressing the wage tax, reducing it, and also making the brackets a bit simplified. Because again, you can't keep on campaigning for the people's vote by saying you give a minimum wage increase and everybody getting a free house, and forget that you actually have to think about business as well. Because if you're going to give everybody more money, it costs more to do business.
Right.
So for PFP, we look at both sides in a very long-term point of view. And that's why I think we're getting to it. We're not here for the hype, we're a movement. And it's a long-term, and it's again, the gold standard of how things should be.
What do you make of recently the Minister of Justice signing off on the function book and asking the Minister of Finance, where is the money?
So I think it's two things. And I think if I can give a very brief, and I think it's unfortunate because again, that's another thing we saw 4 years ago that.
But everything is happening in January.
Everything,
That's my point.
Yeah, but I think you see it where the point of view of, because it's elections. And I mean, I will give the minister this. She has been working on this for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And
What, 2.5 years?
for quite
I
some
believe?
time. So
Right, right.
I definitely will not see this as a political stunt. And again, that's being professional. That's what you should do. Give Jack the jacket.
No, what
but
I'm
she's-
implying
yeah.
is the fact that it's signed.
Mhm.
But the question here is,
Yeah.
okay, it's done and she's
Mhm.
worked on it,
Mhm.
and kudos, I applaud her
Mhm.
for that also. But now the question is, and what I'm sure a lot of the justice workers are also asking, okay, so now where's the money? Show
Yeah.
me the money.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because there's still no 2024 budget submitted to Parliament.
That's what I mean.
So again, we've approved something that we need to make an amendment for. Members of Parliament, they made the amendment.
Yes.
How does that fit into the bigger budget picture?
That's another
for
weight now.
2024?
That's another weight for them.
Yeah, but you know what? By the time that, and it's unfortunate because again, 4 years ago, the then Minister of Justice, now Minister of Romy Duran, said, "Oh yeah, it's all fixed and it's all done." And people keep forgetting why it's important to do things the correct way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He took the shares of the sale
UTS.
of the UTS, paid out the justice workers right before Christmas, and it was an election year.
Mm-hmm.
He issued their sort of, he made the basis of it on a ministerial decree. That's not possible. Minister of Justice actually did the correct way on a sort of national decree.
Right.
But again, in time for elections, I had to make something on paper quickly. And again, people keep getting emotionally hijacked and taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people who voted for Minister Duran then were justice workers.
Right.
Because they were under the impression that come next year, we are going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are,
And
now
that didn't
another
happen.
election happening.
Right.
And yeah, it's been done, but when, how can it be afforded?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that we talk about again. It's not about getting the praise, it's about doing it the correct way.
Right.
Are you in my head?
Oh,
That's why I was trying to be like,
Yeah.
I wanna
Right.
to
Yeah,
jump
yeah.
on something because I feel like you're in my head because you're saying, what do you do then?
Mm-hmm.
If you are a minister who is just concerned about taking pictures on your own because your ministry is just your kingdom, which is what I see in the ministers. Your ministry is your kingdom, and no one else exists around you.
Yeah.
This is what you're gonna have to get. This is what you get. You get a minister who has been lobbying with MPs, trying to educate us, telling us this is how we're doing it. This is the team we have. We're doing the calculations. We're doing all the work that we can. But then you're missing the one with the money on the other side to pay out. If you really care about your people, you would be a finance minister saying, "Min, nice job, man. You did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
No one could have done that in all the time that we had this functional problem, but we got a problem. We can't pay. So how are we gonna handle the communication to them? I mean, we could probably pay in 6 months, but let's come and see how we're gonna do this together.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come and I'll help you. I'll see where I can, to cut some stuff in certain areas to make it available for you. If you care about your party mate, your fellow candidate, you won't try to make them look bad. Because if you're gonna make your fellow candidate look bad, you're gonna make your country look bad.
There you go.
That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, all right. You MP Weever, you were very vocal about the layoff of the telling workers how you've been doing your internal investigation where that is concerned. How far are the talks right now? Are you up to speed with that?
I am not. I know that it was gonna. What I initially heard was that it was gonna be first quarter, after the first quarter of this year, 2024. The last time I was here, I was really upset about it because we had spoken about it in Parliament. And if you're a person with any kind of business savvy, you know that when certain things are happening in a company, it's a little bit of it gives you an idea. It gives you a preview of what's going to happen. And that's why I was always vocal about GB when I asked. I said, "Are you gonna, with all the stuff that's going on with people not paying, are you gonna keep your employees on? Am I gonna have to hear one day that you're gonna have to downsize your employees?"
Yes, you did say that.
That's what initiated it. And then when we had an opportunity for a Tele meeting, I asked the same thing. And I asked this in a budget debate. I said, what are you guys gonna do with Telem? Because every company is failing. What are you gonna do? These are the most it's GB, Telem, and Airport that have the highest employees, right? And I was just really upset about it. And then when I think it leaked, and it wasn't supposed to leak. That story wasn't supposed to leak before Christmas because that was terrible Christmas news. I was when I was with Marvio Cooks with our number 6, and That story wasn't supposed to leak, and I was livid. I was upset because I'm saying you're sneaking this up on people. You had an opportunity when being asked about it in Parliament to be forthcoming, so that people can prepare for their future if they know that they're going to be forced on early retirement. Because that's the first sign I got about it, about something potentially coming, and then it leaks all of a sudden that you have to fire 75 persons, I believe, by the first quarter. What's your plan then for the government-related company? You're going to privatize it and sell it out? What do we have to look forward to? Yeah. So it's not, again, I'm not here, we're not here to point out all your problems and never have solutions. Our solution is clear communication of the uncomfortable things. Because if you are constantly concerned as a representative of looking pretty in your suit and walking the halls and being driven around in your car, then that's what the future we have right now after Thursday. St. Martin needs to wake up. I don't need a pretty face. I need someone who will do the work. You have a record of me doing the work as a minister, MP Melissa Gumbs and Rayon doing the work as MPs that were holding the government accountable every chance they had. That is their role, not to go make up last minute legislation. That is their role. That I said, he has been a director representing us at every international forum that he has to be at with the Prime Minister respectfully. You want people that respect you, that will do the work no matter who is in there and constantly just work for St. Martin. I have not seen that anywhere else. I had an experience before that I thought that's what I wanted. That's what I saw. And boy, was I mistaken. And I found out very quickly that the interest of the people was not the priority for them.
So the PFP party actually, from based on what we're discussing here this afternoon, can somewhat turn it all around.
You know what? Everybody.
You feel that way?
I feel so good. I know. I'm sorry. I am so excited because I think St. Martin will have the biggest surprise of their life.
So this energy this energy that you have, and you want to spread it out there to the people we're talking here. But the fact of the matter is, and something we said earlier, that a lot of people are still disheartened.
I felt that before, but not now.
Right.
I felt that 1 month ago.
What are they saying now? Because these are the people that we spoke about a month ago, who were like very upset. Oh, I ain't going to vote. What are you feeling? What are you hearing now?
So I actually think and it's interesting. I was thinking to somebody, the supermarket this morning. I was speaking to somebody, and they were like, they got to go see the voting cards. People are now waking up.
Yeah.
That we have an election on Thursday. I don't know if it's sort of the disbelief that sort of it actually lasted, because everyone knew it was in shambles from the jump. But I think it's really that people were down by the fact that there was a very somber and sad Christmas.
Yes.
I think growing up, you always heard about, happy holidays, all the best for the season.
That
didn't hear it.
Right.
Usually people have bursting fireworks this whole week. I think by the first, it was done.
It's a reflective of your country.
Yeah, the country's economy.
And
I think it's a wake-up call for the people who believe that so much has been happening. I'm just like, people are not doing well. And I think people didn't want to see politicians during Christmas because it was basically...
I understood.
Yeah, and I think...
It was there.
It was dark, and
I know a lot of people, including myself. I hopped on an aircraft and I was out of here.
A lot of people did that because I missed the opportunity when they were going. They said we'll be back in time.
I wanted to feel Christmas.
Me too. We went all the way out in terms of decorations, so people could feel that. And then around the time we take a break as a party. So everyone can actually still have that community spirit. Yeah. And actually in a party that I was organizing where I wanted to be like a political gathering, I changed my mind last minute and I said, hey guys, no party colors. Yeah. It's Christmas. We're going to have the old time string band there. Yeah. It was amazing because people were begging just for an old time Christmas feel, and people said, "You made us." They were like, "We make it now. You make us feel like Christmas." It's just, but you know what it was the realness of what St. Martin used to be like during those times.
The holidays.
And to this morning, right? Patrice calls me this morning. So how I have been always vocal about the deregistration.
Yeah, I was about to ask you.
And that's why I said, don't talk about it. I want to just talk about how we communicate, right? So for over a month and a half, because I have been concerned that everything happened in a short time span of deregistration. And look what Patrice just said. And what he said is a valid observation, that People have been disenchanted, disinterested. They've been trying to catch up on life after all these disasters, after all these significant events in their life that was natural, much less personal. And so I'm telling everyone, I'm telling all the candidates, I said, guys, you have your voting card? Are you registered? You good? Or you get some letter that we were relying on postal service. We never put an ad in the paper to say you're deregistered. We were very sloppy. And I said we because I am part of St. Martin, even if I'm part of a failing government. It's we. That's why I say we all the time, because I keep that connection with people all the time. And I'm like a broken record for how long? Maybe 2 months? Even more so for the last month. Patrice calls me this morning and said, Ludi, do you know the other hours of the civil registry? Because a bunch of people are calling me today. I said, me too. People are calling me before we on the phone with each other. And I said, I've been warning all of my friends, contacts, and acquaintances.
Yeah,
but I think
people just sort of close it off because they were annoyed to see, you know what? It's been 4 years, and people who are staunch voters have never not voted. Are telling me I'm not voting. And I think, I think what's happened now, people are now kind of realizing,
they're waking up to hear.
Well, all the Christmas crap that most politicians do is now over. Actually, wait, I'm still not okay. I need to now figure out where my voting card is. And that's happening now this weekend.
And it's so interesting when he said it, I said, oh my gosh, he's so right, because people are trying to get over. I went to bed 10:30 on December 31st, okay? Everyone still, those who still went out, still had whatever they were doing, watching fireworks, going out for dinner, maybe out at a nightclub, I don't know.
I was running at me after my dogs.
But the first was a write-off. The first was a write-off. And I know we took our break as a party and campaign team and supporters that are there all together. So we technically, after the first, only have 7 days to campaign. 8 days. Because, I would say 7, 8 days. And that's why everyone's coming out of the woodworks now saying, where's my voting card?
I mean, it's very positive, because I think we had gotten to the point where people were not going to vote. But I tell people, you know, people are now engaging in it. Even though it's good, it's
there's
worrisome.
No distraction. Everybody's focused right now on seeing that, hey, elections are coming. And I've heard it I hear it with every election. People are like, I ain't gonna vote. But then that day when you see these elections, the same people who were crying, oh no, I ain't gonna vote. They sometimes are the first ones to rush to the polling station.
But Grace, you will notice that over the past 10 years, the percentage participation has dropped.
Yeah, because I think the last election 4 years ago, we were like this
60.1%.
Yeah, we were just a little over 60%.
You know, what we have to sort of see now is that given the first 4 years of a stable government, given, like, once again, thanks PFP, given again that, you know, people are not doing well, and will that how is it going to play out? Will it be a big time? We have people again, you know what? Just go out and vote.
Right.
I think it's very important. I think it's one of the things that, like you said again, you know, people have fought for years for this. There are people dying all over the world for this, just to go to school, just to go to vote. And we are like collecting, you know, voting cards, like, you know,
like it's an ornament, and just like, put it between my books, you know.
But I think for me, I just hope that people
that card and say it and call it for what it is. That card is
your voice.
It's your voice.
Yep.
It's your voice
gold.
for
That's
change.
gold. That's gold.
For change.
Exactly. So don't just look at it and say, hey, you know, I ain't gonna vote. No. That's right there. So because the fact of the matter is that a lot of these people who actually don't go to vote are the first ones to always complain. So this is your chance. This is your voice, people.
I tell them, don't disappear. Don't become a ghost.
No, you can't.
Come out and show your presence. Show that you are a person. We respect you, and you're coming out to give your vote to PFP.
Yeah,
right.
And that's what makes me so. I want to come off confident, because that's all it is.
Yeah.
I am so looking forward to Thursday. You have no idea.
I think a lot of people
going
are
out
too.
to talk to people, I feel it. I feel they want change. I feel that they know that we are real. And they're going to get it.
And you say that, but you realize that around the world also, that elections of people look what happened in the Netherlands recently.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. I keep saying it, for changing the gold standard. That's what we deserve.
Yep.
Because we respect ourselves to get that.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about how millennials, like you say, what are the young people actually saying? Because I heard from someone that a lot of them are saying, oh, they're not really interested in vote, or are they going to swing more towards the most popular candidate?
That is always the concern.
I think it depends, because I think a lot of you know, I think I'm a millennial. Then we have what's now Gen Z. And the Gen Zs now are those who are now voting. So I'm 34, they're 18. I can technically be their father. But
Gen Z.
You see it that I think less of my generation is consumed by who's popular, but young people always like people who are on the street, on the scene.
Right.
You know,
because you're easy to see.
So that's the thing. But then at the same time, this is the same generation that equally doesn't care who you are, and they're gonna call it out. So you can't really.
It's very
so
good.
I think for us, our message has always been like we have to get out there. We have to get in every single trench and talk to every single body, because like Ludi said, everybody is worth your time. You can't only come during elections. And for us as a party, it's always been about going and connecting with the people. So I think come January 11th, I keep saying January, just say come Thursday. Thursday.
Right? Yeah.
Thursday, because it's no longer abstract, it's Thursday.
Right.
Come Thursday. If you see what we've been doing for the past 4 years in Parliament, the level that we have brought Parliament to, the questions we've asked, and how we've held people accountable, including our own, put that vote towards Party for Progress, the PFP. What we've done with 2 seats in opposition, imagine if we have 4, 5, however many the people of St. Martin want to give us.
We have 10 candidates.
Imagine what, well, yeah, so, you know, but again, quality over quantity, but I think, again, it goes back to the fact of vote for someone who you can see represent you, and not because they're your cousin, because trust me, and not because it's in your neighborhood, because we've seen already people live in certain neighborhoods and neighborhoods still in shambles.
Ooh,
so
some people don't even vote for themselves.
Yeah, so again, it's about quality, and come January 11th, vote will go standard.
All right, MP.
I thought I gave my closing beforehand.
Oh, you did?
When I was yes, when I was saying how confident I am going out. We're listening to the people, we're hearing them. We wish everyone the best for the new year, one that will be made even better, knowing that PFP is in the next government. Thank you, St. Martin.
Grace, thank you so much.
And thank you both for coming in here this afternoon to join me here in my afternoon breakfast lounge, the only one that I can have actually. Because Thursday we're heading out to the polls. Of course, I know you guys will be busy from early morning.
Yeah.
Trying to get the electorate out there to go out and cast their votes. It's going to be a very interesting election. Of course, again, we've had our first full-term government, and we hope to form a coalition again, which I kind of see that's going to be the case. But again, it all depends on you, the voters out there. So remind you, of course, to go out on January. That's going to say Thursday. Let me call it
Thursday.
January 11th.
Go out on Thursday, the 11th of January. And
between 8 and 8
a.m.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning for the last vote, right? Let's hope that that's not the case. But nevertheless, on a serious note, though, I want to thank you both for coming in this afternoon. Also want to thank Minister of ASR, Omar Otley, for dropping by earlier this afternoon. And to both of you, that's MP Ludmila de Weever. She's the number 3 candidate on the PFP party slate. Along with her is Mr. Patrice Gumbs Jr. He is the number 4 candidate on the PFP party slate. People, remind you again to go out and vote. Listen to the issues. Listen to what matters. Listen, if you want change, what is it that you want for this country, St. Martin? That's all it is. That's all it is. If you want change, you got to go out and make that change. And only you can do that with that card that you have, that golden card. That is your golden ticket, people. So make sure you use it on Thursday. I was waiting.
Thanks, Grace.
Radio listeners, thank you all so much. I'll be back here with you Monday morning at 7 o'clock. I've got 2-part interviews again, one at 8:15 and one at 9 o'clock. And I know a lot of you are wondering, Lady Grace, how do you do it? Hey, I try to ask myself that question too. But anyhow, have a safe and enjoyable weekend. See you all on Monday, God's willing. I'm out of here. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Jesus, pieces.